Hello my friend, I'm Kiddo and this is a day of my life. It's an early one this morning, got the time there, as you can see, thought I would take you along with me with my typical day to day. Here's a quick peek outside, sun finally coming up, but we're up and at it regardless. So I just thought I'd say, the first thing I'm doing actually when I come to the shed or the first thing that I do on the business for the day is doing my customer service on my phone. Before I've started my work day, I've just spent 10 to 20 minutes usually on average just by myself, sitting there in silence, breathing in and out. Might be a bit woo-woo to some, but it works for me, and I think that's the best thing you can take away, I guess, for morning routines. I think a lot of people overcomplicate the morning routine. You just need to find out what works for you. I know for me, I'll just show you here, I like to start my day off with, first off with spending time by myself, just breathing. Doesn't have to be long, and then glass water, glass bottle, I've brought that out with me as well. And so yeah, I think it's just important to start your day with something that really sets the baseline for the rest of the day. I know something that works for other people as well is just waking up and getting to work. I've definitely done that before as well. But yeah, just find something that works for you. Another thing I'm doing is actually sending out offers. So what I do next is I pick and pack. By sending out offers now before I begin that process, it's just like accepting the other offers. Sometimes people will pay, and so I'll be able to quickly do their order just before everything gets shipped out. So now with all the customer service done on my main phone, I'm going to switch over to this other phone, basically the Samsung from 2020, if you look it up. I use this for both photos, and I also use it for picking, and it's obviously got a hard carry case around it in case I drop it. Oh, sorry, Samsung Galaxy S20, not A20, my bad. So yeah, this is my main picking phone, and it's also my main photography phone. I really like this one, mainly for photography because it has the option to take photos in squares. And I can also plug it directly into my computer, which I'll do later on. So right now, I'm just going to put this around my neck with the lanyard. The lanyard is absolutely essential so that I don't have to put my phone down while I'm picking. And right now, I'm just going to open up the orders that I need to pick, and then we'll get right into it. 45 orders to pick, and a bunch of these are combined as well. So it's 45 total orders, but there's gonna be multiple items in each order. When I go to pack, that's when it'll give me a total item count for going into those 45 orders. All right, let's grab this trolley and get started. What I'm doing is I'm just looking at the orders sorted by SKU on my phone and just working my way through one by one. Number 2. Okay. There it is. Okay. First order picked. This one's up top. So what I'm picking right now is actually a massive multi-order. A customer came through and bought 20 plus items. So I'm going through my entire system to complete their combined order first in terms of the picking stage. I think one of the massive benefits of having a store that is like items is that you create these opportunities where people can come through and buy, multiple items. Put those in here. Nice. These in here. I guess a key point to add while I'm doing this is I'm not only looking at the SKU number, I'm also just eyeballing the photo of the item and just confirming that it matches, because if there's been a mistake and I've made a mistake entering the SKU and I'm not double checking what the item is, there's room for error. So just adding that extra check of confirming that the SKU is correct and also confirming that the item is correct during picking makes a huge difference to make sure I send out, the right item to the right customer. Alrighty. These bottom tubs on the trolley, these ones are for my combines, and then the top is for the single orders. So as I'm actually putting these items away in the photo stage, which you'll see soon, what I'm doing is I'm folding and putting them away in which you can still see the size tag And that usually makes it easy for me to confirm, you know, size, the item, the design, visually confirm it's the right item. Just a quick little break. I want to show you something. I guess I'll zoom in on post, but as you can see, those two down there, their day's already started as well. Alrighty, so all the picking is complete now. I did just want to speak about one order in particular, which is this tub down here. This is all going to one customer. The story with this order is he had actually purchased 10 items initially, and he was trying to use a coupon in order to, you know, get a discount on everything. And he was having an issue checking out. So it was trying to charge him multiple postage. So he messages me. He's like, look, hey, can you, like, how do I work this out? How do I buy these items? It's trying to charge me, you know, $100 in postage when it really should have only been charging him, you know, 20. So I had read his message, and 2 minutes later I responded. So I don't know what I was doing. I think I was on the computer. Either way, I was there. And he was impressed, obviously, that I got back to him so quickly. And so he basically asked, he's like, look, I can't work this out. Are you happy for me to just pay the postage amount and you refund me the difference? And I said, look, of course, if you don't want to do that though, like, I'm happy to walk you through. He's like, look, no worries at all. I can see you're here. Look, I trust you. I'll just check out now. I said, no worries. I'll do that. And then obviously I processed the refund for him, you know, almost instantly to make sure that that money was on its way back. And then, you know, he was stoked. So he said, thank you. And then I want to say, you know, half an hour later, he messages me again. He basically came through and he bought another 12 items. He did the same thing. He waited for me to refund the postage, etc., etc. This all happened, you know, in a window of an hour, you know, 30 minutes to an hour. And so, yeah, that one tub is full of items for one customer. I think it ended up being 22 items in total. I guess the key for me, and yet another reminder, is that when I'm fast, when I'm on the ball, it can create a strong feedback loop, because ultimately a lot of people take a lot of time to respond to these messages. And the moment a customer messages me, I always see it as an opportunity. I always see it as, okay, let me get back to them quickly. If they have a question, they're essentially always showing buyer intent. Now, does every question answered, does every message responded to result in a sale? Probably not, right? Obviously not. But obviously in situations like that, for example, I didn't know he was going to place a whole nother order that was bigger than his initial order. But I treated the customer how I treat every customer, and I was also fast and on the ball with it. And obviously, you know, building that trust with the customer, especially on the internet, I find has been super important for me and has ultimately given me a competitive advantage. So if you ever have the opportunity to be fast, I think speed is underrated, whether it's in business, whether it's, you know, within your relationships. I'm not talking speed at the compromise of quality though. I think you still need to keep the quality high, but if you can be fast and be high quality, then you're gonna absolutely crush. What I'm gonna do now is move on to packing all the individual orders and also the combined orders. Take this off here. We don't need that anymore. Move this out of the way. Okay, let's get on to packing. Here are the total orders. As you can see, 71 total items picked, and then it'll go into around 45-ish orders. Go get these bags ready. If somebody from IKEA is watching, feel free to reach out. I have used these so many times. All right, let's get on to some packing. Tell you what, this shot is actually the hardest to frame, because obviously I don't want to put the customers' addresses on the shipping labels in the screen, but also like I need the shot wide enough. I mean, it's fine when I do like short form and it's vertical, but yeah, this one is probably the most difficult shot to film. But yeah, we roll with what we got, right? Keep it going. What I'm doing now is I'm just going through the sorted by buyers page, and what that does is it essentially just sorts people's names so I know which ones to go in and combine. And so that's what I'm going to do now, is I'm going to combine, you know, whether people got 3 items, whether people got, in that case that I mentioned before, you know, the 20 plus items. I'm basically going through and combining everything before I print the labels, just so I don't print out 2 labels for somebody I could have, you know, sent their entire order in one satchel. Turn this light on too. Cool. This was actually a game changer. It seems subtle, but having an extra light that makes the labels or what you're packing so much easier to see has made a huge difference for me. I originally actually bought this for my photo setup for items, and then I brought it over for its original intention, which is to be, you know, a desktop lamp clamped to your desk. And yeah, it's been really good. Now that all the orders are combined, I'm just going through and selecting the satchel type for each. Once the labels are set up, I'll then be able to print them and we'll get straight into packing. So when I'm picking, I am sorting by SKU so that I don't have to double back all the time through my system. I can go through in order. When I'm combining orders, I am sorting by buyer, so their name, so that I can combine everybody. And obviously, you know, if somebody has bought an item one day before or a couple of hours before, and then somebody else has bought an item, it might separate those orders. So when I'm combining specifically, I'm sorting by buyer. Then when I go to pack the items, I'm sorting by buyer paid, which is in chronological date, because that is how my labels are printed. And that's how I'm setting my labels up now, in order of when the buyer actually paid. Sorting separately for each step allows me to make sure ultimately that the right customer gets the right item, and that I don't incorrectly, you know, send two items separately when I could have sent them together. In the off chance somebody is wondering as well, I don't use any external software. I'm not opposed to using external software for the shipping. And I find that as long as I can keep on top of my shipping, that I don't actually need the extra efficiencies just quite yet for the shipping step, at least. The main thing is I'm sending most of my items the exact same way. So I'm not doing a lot of variation. I'm not really doing a lot of transitioning between items. So I'm just doing the same thing over and over again. If there's anybody that's watching and can recommend a shipping software for Australia specifically, because I know the American system is different and you can go one by one. I print everything out in bulk. So I guess I just have my current system, but if anybody has any suggestions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I would love to know what you use if you are sending, you know, mostly extra small satchels and small satchels over and over again. We've got a lot more light outside now, as you can see. Check out the fellas. It's 3 right now, just chilling, probably wondering what I'm doing. Look at them. All right, so quick little drink break, and then it is time to get right into the packing. Thing I love about working, you know, earlier in the morning is that it's just very peaceful. Like there's nobody bothering me. There's not a whole lot going on either. I'll just give you a little bit of an update on the time as well. Hopefully you can see that. So we've just gone past 6 a.m. and yeah, now it's time to get into the packing. I'm not listening to a whole lot. I don't have audio playing. I don't have podcasts or music. I usually reserve that for later, but during packing is when I'm fully locked in, making sure that, you know, the right items get to the right customers. So just waiting for these labels to print now. We'll get stuck right into the packing. Okay, so that is all the labels printed, as you can see, as so. And I'm going to move on to just setting up, you know, my packing station. So right now, this might be like a smaller detail that only a select few are interested in, but I'm gonna move all of my, you know, my packing materials over onto this table. I've moved my keyboard forward, and so basically my arms aren't swinging left, right, they aren't going above, obviously, but they're all sort of staying in this area. The bin is physically closer to me, so that I don't have to take a step to put stuff into the bin. And then I'm also gonna move the IKEA bag close as well. So as much as the whole body isn't moving, the arms really aren't moving all that much as well. I'm gonna pull this closer, and just, you know, small little differences like this, they may not mean a lot when you are packing a couple items, a handful of items, but when you're packing a lot of items, it does add up over time. And if you think about it, like, you know, I've been doing this for years, so these little small details do add up over time, they do compound. So yeah, I know that's a small detail, but that is something I think about, which is how do I not take extra steps? And also how do I make it so I can move as little as possible? And that doesn't apply to every part of the business, but for each individual task, I do try to do that as much as possible. Okay. First order packed. Let's go. What I'm looking at on the screen is, once again, just the SKU and also just eyeballing the item, comparing how it looks visually to the item I'm about to pack as well. If you have any questions about my inventory system, I have already made a video about that, and I'll leave a link to that in the description as well. In that video, it talks about SKU codes and how they work within my system. First multi-order complete. So it's really interesting while I'm filming, because during this stage, like obviously I'm working by myself, so I'm not really talking to anybody. So the fact that I'm, you know, doing something like this and kind of commentating at the same time is very interesting. It's definitely something that's new for me. I think one of the biggest things that I like about what I do is just the fact that I can do it on my own timeline. I can move at my own pace. Not only just, you know, I can take as long as I want, but also that I can be as fast and as efficient as I want, so that I can just move on to something else that I want to do, you know, during the day. So just having that autonomy, I think, has always been important to me. And I think that's why I've set up my business the way that I have, in that I can, you know, start super early and get things done. I can stay up late and work more. I love that freedom. I love that ability to be autonomous. I love also just being able to pick what I'm working on. I think that has been a huge part of me just enjoying what I'm doing and being able to, you know, take it to that next level. All right, that's bag one complete. I'm just gonna move that over here and we'll start on bag two. Okay, let's do it. Nearing the end now of the packing. We're almost finished, but I think one overlooked part of the packing process is the ability to put in like a thank you card, the ability to put in a coupon code on that thank you card. Taking these little opportunities to do more than what everybody else is ultimately what I think has given me the ability to just drive more repeat business. And I think repeat business is extremely important. So there we are. That is all the packing done. 2 IKEA bags full. That ended up being 44, 45 orders. Now we will move on to the photos. Just an update on the time for you. Here's how we're going so far. I have got my Samsung, obviously this is going to be my photo phone, and I got my other phone here. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just time myself, and also I've got to grab these pick bins, put these to the side for when I put those back into the storage system. Here, like this. Alrighty. This mic is getting in the way, unfortunately. Actually, you know what? I'll put this mic on the hat. I've got my items here on my left. I've got my ruler here, and I've got the bags here with the pick bins on my right. So everything is in, you know, 1 step distance. If you want more details about my photo process, I did some short videos on Instagram, so go follow me over there. I'll leave a link to that below, but that's just Kiddo the One. The same as my YouTube, the same as my website. I basically am just Kiddo the One everywhere. And yeah, there's a video of my photo process for jeans and for t-shirts on short form. But if you want me to do, you know, a long form video about that, please leave me a comment. So once I've obviously finished the photos of the item, I'm just gonna put them straight into this pick bin here on my right, and then turn around and start the next one. So we're just gonna work away, you know, one at a time, get these photos done. The other thing I don't think I've spoken about before is I've got just the scissors here to my right, just in case there's like little clips or loose threads. I always keep those close while I'm working. Turn that alarm off. And so that just means I don't need to, you know, leave the photo station until the photos are done. I stay in this one location and I don't have to move until, you know, the task is complete. And I think that's a very underrated way of working, which is, you know, having specific spots. I'm not saying you need to have a lot of space, but more just, okay, this is a dedicated desk for where I do this. This is the dedicated place for where I do that. I think if you do everything, you know, in one spot, unless it's like that's your work desk and you do all your work there, I think having a dedicated space for each task can do wonders for your efficiency. And then obviously not like scrolling on your phone and doing other things in that area, because then your mind starts to associate, you know, that zone with the thing that you're meant to be doing. So even here, if I have my phone here to my right, you know, usually I'll have a podcast on, maybe I'll be listening to music, that sort of thing. But I'm not sitting there doing, you know, my social posts. I'm not there doing other tasks that, even though they're related to this business, I'm not doing those here. This is my dedicated spot for photos, and I use this spot for photos. Having that separation can just make a huge difference, and ultimately just makes keeping the habit a whole lot easier. In business, I think we are just the sum of our habits. And I've definitely noticed for myself, like whenever my business has had problems, it's because it's a personal problem. It's because there's something I'm doing or not doing, or, you know, doing too much of, that is getting in the way of how the business runs. And so the better we can be personally, you know, the better off the business will be as well. All the photos are done now. It was mostly t-shirts, and then towards the end there was some winter and also some shorts. Now that these 2 pick bins are full, I'm gonna go put them into the storage system. Okay, so I'm on the home stretch now. So what I'm going to do is move on to the listings. I have got all the photos on my phone, which I'm going to put into a folder and then simply connect it to my computer and then move on to knocking out the listings one by one. I've spoken about this before, but an important thing to note is that I keep the photography process and the listing process as one. So I continue essentially treating it as one task. I think in the past, when I've had breaks between the 2 steps, listings have taken me way longer than it should. I think if you keep them connected, it's just way easier to list because your short-term memory is storing that information. And ultimately that's what works for me. I think my listing process is way easier when, you know, the photos I've just taken are fresh in my mind. I'm straight into the listing process now. I didn't actually always stand while listing, but I've been testing it, you know, the last few months. And I think it's good to mix between, you know, standing while working on the computer and also, you know, sitting down like usual. I just noticed that I was sitting a whole bunch more than I needed to be, and being able to, you know, stand and work has worked out well for me so far. All right, so here we are in the bulk edit feature, about to send these listings live. We can do that right now. And we're gonna go submit. As you can see, there we are, 31 listings are now live. So final update there on the time for you, 8:26. Look, the goal was to finish by 9 a.m. We got there, made it. I think the main thing about, you know, this business routine in the morning, at least for me, is if I am waking up that early, I really want to take advantage of that time. I want to, you know, stay in flow and just keep it pushing and really just treat it as, you know, one full task, which is my work morning. Because if you can lock in, you can get that deep work done. And ultimately it just makes the rest of the day way easier because now I've got all my business work done and now I can just work on other projects, work on music, and, you know, just do what I want to do. I've just opened the shed door so the light can come in. I'll just put you right there. So look, one of my goals always was to finish before 9 a.m. was to create, you know, a workflow, a work process, a system where I had this ability to actually be able to finish before 9 a.m. so that I could spend the rest of my day, you know, doing whatever. It took me so long to get to this point because I needed to build systems and processes that would get me there. Look, today's Monday, and the ability to finish my business work by 9 a.m. on a Monday is just something that I was always working towards. It's not something that I do every day. Some days I will put in, I'll do 60 listings. Some days I'll do 80, 100 listings. But in terms of my 30 a day listing habit, that's quite strong. Ultimately, I'm just grateful to be at this point because now I have the time to make content like this. As soon as I'm done recording this, I'm going to go edit this and put this out. So I say all of that to say thank you very much for watching. If you got to this point, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. Otherwise, I'm Kiddo and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you for watching.